Hey everyone, it's me, TJP. Today I'll be checking out the KBDFans brand new alternative to the PE Foam mod. They call it the Switch Pad. In this video I'll be showing you how to install them, as well as be comparing them to the PE Foam mod and the Tempest Tape Mod, which have both been getting very popular. To start off, I'll be showing you the KBDFans Switch Pads. The pack contains 120 switch pads, so when purchasing one pack, you'll have enough for even a full-size keyboard. You have the option of ordering the solder version or the hot swap version. The solder version includes holes for 3 of the pins on a switch, while the hot swap version includes holes for all 5 pins as well as a hole for the RGB LED. The switch pads are made of a material called Poron. Compared to the polyethylene foam used in the PE Foam mod, the urethane foam in the KBDFans switch pads are supposed to be significantly less dense and more aerated. You may have already seen some Poron foam being used in KBDFans products, as most of their case foams and other products use the same material. One thing I found out while editing this video was that they even made a solid sheet of the switch pad material for the KBD67 Lite. I'll have to check that out at some point, although I think it will act pretty similarly to the individual pads. Also, other companies are hopping on the train as well and making their own versions of switch pads, some even using the same polyethylene foam used in the PE Foam mod. Alright, now let's get to how to install the switch pads. On your PCB, installing one of the switch pads is a similar process to installing stabilizer pads. I recommend using tweezers to hold one end of the switch pad while guiding it onto the PCB by lining up the RGB header or the center pinhole. Should you misplace one, it's not the end of the world. They remove pretty easily, but I recommend using your nails or tweezers to shimmy it under the corner and peel it right off. Make sure to take your time with this process. Similar to lubing switches, it's pretty tedious, but it's rewarding in the end. The keyboard I'll be using in this sound test is my KBD67 Lite. At the bottom of the internals is a cabinet liner that I've put inside the case below the PCB. This is a mod I heard of from the YouTuber Keyboard. Above that is a standard case foam that comes in all KBD67 Lites, followed by the PCB, the silicone mute layer, and the polycarbonate plate. As for the switches in this build, I decided to use alpaca switches, lubed with Krytox 205 and filmed with Desky's switch film. The stabilizers are Duroc V2 alpaca editions, and they have been wholly modded and lubed with Krytox 205 grade 0. Finally, for the keycaps, there's some budget black on white Japanese PBT keycaps I found on Amazon. Everything in this build, as well as all the things I used for the mods, will be linked in the description below. Now for the sound test. I'll be comparing 4 different sound tests. The first is no modifications, so everything in the board exactly as I listed in the keyboard info. The second is the Tempest Tape Mod, in which I used 2 layers of normal blue masking tape. The third is the PE Foam Mod, which I used a regular PE foam that I found on Amazon. Again, it is linked below. And finally, the fourth is the KBDFans switch pads. Afterwards, I will discuss my own opinions about each option. Let's begin. Alright, now that you've heard all the mods, I will talk about the pros and the cons of each option. Note that some of these are my opinion and you may disagree with them. Let's start with the Tempest Tape Mod. The pros include it is incredibly quick and easy. You don't even have to remove the plate, switches, or keycaps depending on the board. It works on almost every board, and the sound is impressively modified considering how little you're actually doing to modify the board. The cons include, the sound is more of a clacky or poppy sound. Arguably, that could be what you're going for, but from the people that I've talked to, they enjoy the sound from the PE Foam mod more than the Tempest Tape Mod. Next is the PE Foam mod. The pros include, you may have already gotten PE Foam from the shipping your keyboard comes in, so you don't have to get any. The PE Foam mod can bring a lot of sound out of a board that is otherwise pretty muted. It isn't really that difficult to do. The cons include, it can be time consuming because you have to completely take apart your board. If you don't already have PE Foam, then you most likely have to order it online. If your switches are already barely fitting into the hot swap socket, then the PE Foam mod might be too thick and not allow a full connection from your switches. The biggest con, however, is the fact that there have been a lot of concerns lately about certain PE foams damaging or being harmful to PCBs. I'll link some information about that below. Next is the KBDFans switch pads. The pros are being able to stick them onto your PCB and not having to worry about moving it or messing it up when you're taking apart your board. The sound is pretty comparable to the PE Foam mod, although I will say it's a bit more muted. The thickness allows it to work with almost any combination of switches, PCBs, and plates. And it's safe for your PCB and switches. The cons are, it is definitely the most time-consuming mod. For my keyboard with 67 switches, it took around 20 to 30 minutes to install the switch pads. Considering it's a standalone product made for this, the sound modification can be a bit underwhelming. Overall, I'm able to say that I'm happy with the KBDFans switch pads. It is nice that KBDFans has stepped in and tried to make a popular mod more available to enthusiasts. While the sound may not be as impressive as the PE Foam mod, it is still a noticeable improvement over the stock no mod experience. Plus, knowing that it's safe for the PCB is really nice, as doing a mod that can cost you your PCB if done incorrectly is something that most people don't want to risk. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.